Alright, welcome back. It's time to continue with the new class of Dreadnoughts. Now, last time I was flying the Revelation, and today I'll be flying the Naglfar Bodyguard. I used to fly Naglfar a long time ago. Wasn't my ship, a friend of mine borrowed it to me, and I actually enjoyed that ship a lot. It has a surprising amount of DPS in overall. It is a very unique ship in its own way. Now, let's take a look at the basic info, trade description. The roll bonus on all 4 of these ships is going to be the same. The good thing is they all have the advanced skill requirements. I actually kind of expected them to have the expert skills at first, but it turns out they don't, which is a good thing. The Naglfar Bodyguard does follow the same path as the classic Naglfar, and as the Valvarn, they are a active shield tank ship. And here you can take a look at the other attributes. They have the same module slot layout, which makes it easy to overall build the ship. Now, this is the close-in defense gun that I will be using. I also find it pretty funny that it says that it attacks small ships and fighters, right? Well, they still do engage cruisers, battlecruisers, and battleships, which was one of the things that I found funny, because the close-in weapon systems are kind of meant to be, to be anti-tackle, and they should primarily engage only smaller ships, but they are engaging the large ones as well, which is pretty funny. I actually prefer this one because it does have a bit more damage. A little bit more damage. It doesn't target drones, but I don't really go after drones or fighters. I usually go after the ship. It has the auto cannons here. You can also I will be using the high angle weapons on this ship as well, because if you want proper anti-tackle, then the high tracking capital weapons are definitely the way to go. And this ship has been built in the image of a classic Naglfar or a Valvarn. The ships are, expensive in the market, so having a good build is kind of justified. That includes, if you want to have a expensive build on these ships, you can do that if you like. Is it really necessary though? No, obviously, but they are expensive, and if you buy an expensive ship, you might as well give the ship a proper build that's going to make the ship last longer. Now, as for the implant, you have the barrage implant, you have the artillery cover implant. I think there is one more new implant that I haven't really been using. But any implant that you have, any implant that you choose for this ship is generally speaking going to be more than enough to make it work just fine. And it wouldn't be me if I didn't forget something. Obviously, I forgot to refuel the ship. One of the things that
docking request accepted.
I'm still kind of trying to get used to is having to refuel every single ship that I have, because now every ship does have at least one module that eats fuel for breakfast. So yeah, don't be surprised if I forget fuel in these videos that I make. Well, in the next 2 videos that I make about these ships. I've been asked to test them out versus super capitals, so I plan to do that. I'm personally interested to see how will they handle a super capital with the current build that they have on the ships, with my type of build, the chonky type. I already tested the classic Dreadnoughts versus super capitals a long time ago. I think I also tested the faction ones as well. The other type of Dreadnought, I forgot their name at the moment, but I think I tested them out versus super capitals, or maybe I didn't. If I didn't, I'll have to do the same thing with these here, with the new ones as well. So that would be a thing that I have to do. As for the nanocore, currently there is only one type of nanocore available for them. I would personally wait to have more older nanocores available for these ships, but it should be available at one point. You don't have to buy the new one if you don't want to. Obviously, having a new nanocore is optional. I leave that usually up to player preference. If you want a new nanocore, we'll go for it. If not, that's also fine. So, 12 million overall defense, 89. Not bad resistance, considering how shield works on the super capitals, especially on Dreadnoughts. It will be very tanky. The Naglfar is known to be one of the tankier Dreadnoughts, and it used to be one of the toughest ships to destroy. The Valvarn especially used to be, I mean, before super capitals, the Naglfar was definitely the tankiest. And then there was my Revelation as well, which was built to handle a lot of DPS, and 96%, 36 million hit points with the damage control active. You can use the special energizer damage control, but that's one use only, and it only affects the hull. You can have the module if you like, or use the classic damage control to be a bit more active. Both options are fine, although the situations where the modules are being used are a little bit different, and it can make a difference in the type of build that you have. And of course, this is my classic build, but you can build this ship in pretty much any way that you like. You can add the classic battery build for more endurance. You can go full tank if you want resistance. You can even go passive if you want to make a passive build Naglfar, but with a ship that has a bonus on active tank, you should stick with active tank. So, but it's still an option. You can slap the externus if you like. So you do have a lot of different options to build this ship, and I do like to have options, especially when it is a complex game like this game. You do have literally so many modules to choose from that you can pick, basically. My preferred build was and will remain the CHONK build with full resistance. Only one capacitor battery usually is pretty much enough for me, and I hope that we get those capacitor boosters. They will definitely change the whole scene when it comes to how the tanking will work, because now you can actually go full tank, full CHONK, while having a module that will use capacitor, that will use fuel, and it will give capacitor in return, which I'm kind of excited about. Hopefully that will be added. It will definitely change a lot of things in the game. Now, how would you do a DPS build on this ship? Well, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, really. You basically just slap a bunch of gyro stabilizers. You can have minimal tank, although I'm not personally a fan of something like this, because it's a huge ship. Huge ships are usually good targets, so I still prefer to have tank, and I still prefer the tanky build even for PvE. After all, Black Ops fleet exists, and having no tank is definitely leaving the ship at a disadvantage against being jumped. But if you go with a classic tanky build, you will lose some clear time, but at the same time you do gain survivability, and I would say that's a lot more important than clear time. But in any case, let's take this ship out for a little ride, and let's see how it will perform. Visually I do like how this ship looks. I mean, they did a very nice job modeling their ships. They look nice. They definitely look very nice. And this is going to be a very, very long warp. I'm using classic green weapons currently. You usually do that. I mean, I haven't really changed much. I already have a bunch of modules, so I just keep using them. The way that this ship will work, I mean, I already kind of figured out that they might feel exceptionally good for PvE. And also one interesting thing that happened to me while recording today, not on this ship, but while I recorded one with Morse, as you will see later in a different video that will be uploaded today as well. I had very unstable connection, not really sure if it's a server or something, but I had very unstable connection. And the close-in weapon was still working, even though I wasn't able to do much. So the close-in weapon might actually save your ship from basically bad internet. What does that mean? Well, if you're in a mission and if you're doing PvE and if your ship is scrambled and you lose connection and you are unable to return, the close-in weapon will be active. It will stay active as long as the ship is being tackled. It will be active and it will actually destroy the tackle. Eventually it will get to the tackle, and the Dreadnought will be able to warp. And that way, you know, your ship will eventually warp and the ship will be safe. This is something that I encountered and pretty much realized while recording today. So these ships are a decent PvE choice, there is no denying it. The close-in weapon does help a lot with dealing with the smaller ships, because now you can focus on the large ships while the smaller ships are getting torn to shreds by the close-in weapon. Although, as I mentioned before, the close-in weapon does engage all ships, small, large, doesn't matter, it engages all the ships that are in its vicinity. So it still does help. I mean, it's still extra DPS, and usually the faster ships will be closer to you. So in that aspect, the close-in weapon will definitely, in most cases, focus on the smaller ships because they will be closer. But in a lot of cases, it will also engage the large ship. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's still extra DPS. It still helps tremendously in PvE. It also will help a lot for PvP because now the tackle ships are going to be encountering some counters, and I believe I talked about this in the last video, but I expect them to add something similar for battleships, or a new class of battleship will be added that will have those close-in weapons that will, I think, do a little bit less damage. I expect them to do 50% of the capital close-in weapon damage, or maybe it could be the same weapon system that you will be able to equip on battleships and dreadnoughts. That's also a possibility. So those ships will be quite interesting as well, because they will be a lot cheaper than a new dreadnought. They will be a lot more mobile. You'll be able to fly them easier, skill into them easier, and I believe those ships will find more use for smaller fleets, for camps, more use than the new dreadnoughts, because the new dreadnoughts, they are big targets and super capitals love them. Although, you know, always a high risk when you're flying a capital ship. Capital ships are definitely high up on the menu for hot drops. Speaking from my personal experience, when I used to fight the Revelation, I'm kind of thinking, should I go back to that ship? At the same time, I don't really I really camp much nowadays. I usually just join the Black Ops fleets or hunt. That's what I do mostly. Haven't been camping in ages. It's been a very long time since I've been on a gate. Primarily because I just wanted to do something different and new. I started to enjoy the Black Ops fleets a lot. I started to enjoy hunting a lot. Something I always liked, actually. Hunting is something I always liked, and I started to really enjoy the game a lot more than before. That's for sure. However, if we do get a battleship that's able to fit those close-in weapons, I might go and camp a gate or two, just to see how that will work. It will be pretty funny, actually.
Enemy ships detected.
Finally, getting some interceptors. Oh, the
We're
interceptors
under
are
attack.
no longer safe, by the way. Interceptors do get yeeted by these ships
We're
on a daily
under
basis.
attack.
I actually expect the module price and in general all the module prices to go up because of these ships being on every single low-sec entry. Well, null-sec entry or exit, depends how you look at it. But yeah, I mean, so far the PvE performance has been really good. I think when it comes to PvE performance, I believe the Phoenix will deliver the best performance. That's also I noticed even before, like a long time ago. The Phoenix with its barreled missile launcher system seems to be doing the most damage. Not only it pretty much cannot miss, it applies the damage really well, but it also has very good range. And a properly built Phoenix is definitely going to be a lot more lethal than a Revelation or Naglfar against sub-capitals. I would say when it comes to the Bodyguard Dreadnoughts, if you want something that will be a menace to sub-capitals, I think the Phoenix is the way to go. Although you can take the other ones, obviously, if you have skills for them, then obviously the right choice would be to go with the ship you have skills for, but from my experience, after flying all of them and testing them all out, I would say the Phoenix feels the most lethal. Because of the way the missiles work, they just slap, just no other way to describe it.
Enemy ships detected.
And let's go with the last wave here.
We're under
I already mentioned this before, but the close-in weapon system does engage targets the second they spawn.
We're under
And I
attack.
heard that they aren't bound to the server ticks, so it's pretty much instant damage. And obviously you don't have to lock on the target, they just fire at whatever is close, and they have good tracking. They pretty much, I don't think that they can miss. I said this before, they feel like they feel like smart bombs, but disguised as a turret system, which I'm fine with personally. I find this rather interesting, and it definitely does open a lot of possibilities with other ship classes, with with battleships and stuff like that. But yeah, for PvE, honestly, I think they are rivaling right now. I feel like they're rivaling carriers. Not really sure if they can rival super carriers. I believe super carriers have just a lot more DPS, and super carriers are just something completely different. But I feel like performance-wise, the current clear time I have is comparable to what I had with the versatile solar trips, with the other, with carriers in general. So, I guess if you want a PvE ship, but at the same time, it's kind of weird to recommend these things for PvE when they're kind of designed to be anti-tackle guard ships. But at the end of the day, this is a sandbox, so you can pretty much assign the ship for whatever you like, as long as it makes sense, right? Some things are weird. For example, a armor tank on the ship would be weird. There are some things that are weird, that's for sure, but when it simply does give good performance and when it works really well, then I guess that would be fine. In this case, it is obvious that this works really well, and if
Autopilot engaged.
you would like to have one of these for PvE, then I guess it would be a good choice. So with that being said, that was the Naglfar Bodyguards. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments down below, and with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.